In this quick set, I'll be exploring climate anxiety and the steps you can make right now that will make a significant difference on climate change. Hi, I'm Sabrina, and what you've just seen is my previous quick set on the subject of climate anxiety. It covers the effects of climate change and ways you and I can help rescue the environment. For this quick set, I will be turning it up a notch and specifically targeting sustainability, but in fast fashion. I want to be able to motivate you to become more sustainable through the zero waste movement from the clothes you no longer wear. No doubt, if you entered "what is sustainability" into your search engine, you will find many different definitions. Here is one that resonates with me from Santander's quarterly newsletter published in April 2022. Sustainability consists of fulfilling the needs of current generations without compromising the needs of future generations, while ensuring a balance between economic growth, environmental care, and social well-being. Take a second to think. This statement calls out the connection between how we leave the planet and the condition future generations receive it. And put frankly, we all have a role to play in protecting, sustaining, and future-proofing our planet. Don't just take my word for it. We have an amazing guest speaker who's an expert in this space.
I'm Sarah Blanchard. I'm a mum, and I've got a 9-year-old son who keeps me on my toes and asks a lot of day-to-day questions, which make me question matters around sustainability and how to talk about them.
Why do you think that young people should sit up and take note on the importance of living a sustainable life?
Such a great question, Sabrina. And before we get into that, I'd just like to look at a formal definition of sustainability. And it's about meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. It's about, using just enough of nature's resources, like water, and not wasting it so as to leave enough for everybody else. But what I'd like to talk about really is that how it feels. So on a day-to-day basis, what sustainability is about. So it's that feeling, and I wrote down a couple of scribbles here. Is that feeling you get when you step outside and you breathe fresh, clean air. You get a lungful of clean air. That feeling you get when you stand under a tree and you feel cool in summer. That feeling you have, when you crease up laughing with your friends or family or neighbors while you have a belly full of really delicious, nutritious food. And that feeling you get when you drift off to sleep in a comfy bed, feeling really safe and warm and loved. So these are just some of the feelings we get when we have our basic needs met. The trouble is that many people don't get to experience these feelings. They're not having their basic needs met. And that's not good for any of us or for society as a whole. And I give you an example in the UK right now. There's families that we know can't afford to feed their children. 1 in 4 households, according to the Food Foundation, can't afford to feed their children. That's affecting 4 million kids around the country. You will have seen the campaigns for free school meals that Marcus Rashford did last year. So that's like on the day-to-day basis. And if we come back to sustainability, we can see it's not about just taking enough and leaving things in a good state for the next generation. It's really now about leaving our communities and nature in a much better state than in what we found them, because unfortunately younger people are coming into something which needs to be an awful lot better. But the great news is that there is an awful lot of good information out there. There's awful lot of terrible information as well, that can guide and can help people, and that is accessible. So next time you think, what I encourage people to do next time they think about chucking something out, think about, can I reuse it? Can I repurpose it? So if it's a pair of jeans or something like that, can I give it away or sell it or swap it? Can I recycle it? And that's on the chucking out side, but we can come to the obtaining things and purchasing things in the first place. And that's all around saying, well, do I really need this in the first place? Do I need to buy this afresh?
These are actually questions that I've now started to ask myself. So it's really good that you mentioned them, because even yesterday I was thinking like, I felt like I had nothing to wear, and that feeling like, oh my God, I literally have nothing to wear. But I have a whole wardrobe of clothes, and I'm thinking, why do I feel like I have nothing to wear when I can just literally get something out of my wardrobe and maybe make a new outfit with what I have? But I don't know, like I just have that feeling sometimes like, oh my God, I have nothing to wear. And I feel like I have to buy something new. So it's very important to ask yourself the questions that you said. What advice would you give a young person who wants to start making a difference but doesn't know really where to start?
Just question everything that you're told, and keep an open mind to new information and about ways of doing things, and share what you learn. And this whole sustainability trip or journey, as people like to say, it is something really positive. It's about having a better life for everybody, ourselves, people around us, people around the world, nature, etc. Be active, just make a start, and start local. So what can you do, like right under your eyes? You might think about something even at home. We've talked about those examples of reusing things in terms of fashion. It could be doing a litter drive locally. Take a plastic bag with you wherever you go, a reusable plastic bag, of course. If you pick up litter, show that example, make your own environment nice, and people will come along with you. Help your neighbours, talk with them. I mean, not everyone's going to be lucky enough to have nice neighbours, but I think that a lot of us are. Talk with old people, hear their stories about how they have done things. If you're lucky enough to have grandparents or older parents around, talk with them about what they would do. Are there, if it comes to say food, certain recipes that you can use which use up things that you might not know what to do with, like the end bit of bread that always gets chucked away, for example. And this applies, all this kind of thinking and questioning and having an open mind. It applies in your business life or your work life as much as it does in your own personal life. So you might be going into the workplace or in college or in senior school, whichever it is. Ask why things are done in a certain way. Ask where the rubbish goes. Ask why there's so much waste that's chucked out at the end of a lunch service in the canteen, for example. Where does that waste go? And just keep asking questions. Follow things through. Ask not just where does it go, but where does it come from?
Let me hit you with some research directly from the United Nations General Assembly. They established an agreement back in 2015 called the Sustainable Development Goals. These are a collection of 17 interlinked global goals designed to be a shared blueprint of peace and prosperity for people and the planet now and into the future, and are intended to be achieved by 2030. If this is a subject that truly interests you, I suggest you read over the goals. The information is fascinating. The Sustainable Development Goals list out key actions that countries, organizations, and communities can implement. Under number 12, disposable consumption and production, let's talk about fast fashion and its impact on the planet. Specifically, I wanted to respond to your queries on sustainable fashion versus ethical fashion versus circular fashion. So to break down what that means, let me begin by asking you this question. Do you know where your clothes come from? And I don't just mean your wardrobe or the retailer where you purchased it. I am referring to its origin, the source. From this definition of fast fashion, would you describe yourself as a fast fashion consumer? Are the clothes you buy mass-produced at a low cost? You update your wardrobe regularly throughout the year to keep up with the ever-changing trends. Are these some of the retailers you purchase your clothes from? Primark, Shein, Boohoo, Fashion Nova. Let's break down the key stages a typical item of clothing may go through from concept to your home. 1. Pre-production. Designing the garment, sourcing fabric and trims, fabric development, pattern making, and sampling. 2. Production planning. This stage involves the scheduling of production at the garment factory. 3. The cutting process. Garment manufacturers, pattern makers, and the cutters in the factory work together to manage efficiencies within the process. 4. Manufacturing and quality control. This stage is the amount of time needed to manufacture the items, which will depend on the complexity of the design. 5. Delivery. After the items have been reviewed and signed off by the fashion company, the rest of the order will be delivered to warehouses that could be national or international. 6. Retail distribution. The movement of finished clothes to the end users from the warehouse to the shop to your home. Throughout the 6-stage process, we could map out the impact on the environment produced from greenhouse gases and harmful emissions from power plants and factories in the form of electricity, heat, transportation, and manufacturing. But I wanted to call out that there is a 7th stage, not part of the official process, but one that has a significant impact on our planet and not to be underestimated. 7. Landfill. You no doubt have heard the term, and I can tell you that there are different types of landfill, such as combustible, hazardous, degradable, and leachable. Fashion, particularly fast fashion, creates a significant quantity of worldwide carbon emissions from production processes to transportation. Nearly 3 in 5 fast fashion garments end up in landfills until they decompose. Man-made fabrics such as PVC, nylon, polyester are not biodegradable like cotton and silk, which are natural fibers. According to Earth.org, of the 100 billion garments produced each year, 92 million tons end up in landfills. To put that into perspective, this means that the equivalent of a rubbish truck full of clothes ends up on landfill sites every second. That number is crazy. Were you as shocked as me? I'm asking you to stay accountable when buying items from fast fashion brands and thinking about these 2 things: ethical fashion and sustainable fashion. Ethical fashion refers to designing and manufacturing clothes in a way that cares for people and communities while minimizing the impact on the environment. Sustainable fashion takes into account the entire supply chain and life cycle of a garment, from where and how it is made to where it ends up in our landfills. In the past few months, we've seen brands such as eBay, ASOS, and Boohoo create sustainable clothing lines. Boohoo specifically are investing in A-list celebrities such as Kourtney Kardashian to promote their sustainable brands. Let's pause for a moment. Consider, what does this all mean to you? Personally, I used to be a reckless shopper. All I cared about when ordering online was that my clothes would arrive as soon as possible. It was always next day delivery. But after becoming aware about the effects of fast fashion on the environment and how unethical a lot of clothing is made, I became more conscious about where I was getting my clothes from. There are so many great small businesses out there that make fashionable clothing for all different styles, and with the help of social media, they are so easy to find. I wanted to share a practical action for you to take a look into: supporting circular fashion. Ever heard of that term? Let's break it down. Basically, circular fashion is reusing the resources the fashion industry already has. So what can you do? You can reuse and recycle, home wash rather than dry clean. Do you remember that textiles class at school where you learnt to thread a needle? I give you permission to repair with care. Consider a loan, rent, swapping your clothes, redesign instead of buying new. And here is a big one: buy quality as opposed to quantity. My point here is, do not throw your clothes away. These sites can help you make money from reselling your clothes, Depop, eBay, or Vinted. A massive additional benefit is you can make money from selling your clothes online. And here's a top tip: Do some research and find charity shops or sustainability shops in affluent areas. You may grab yourself some great bargains. What are your opinions on fast fashion?
Yeah, I just think it's going to be another part of our lives that our grandchildren get to laugh about us at, you know? They're just going to laugh. It's so stupid. It's so dumb. It's obvious what anybody should think about it. And it really takes advantage of all our darkest points as a civilization, you know? It only exists because there are people who are so economically deprived, they will do whatever they can to work to maintain this mass production. And yeah, it just expresses all our darkest points as a civilization. So I ain't got time for it, innit?
And I agree with that as well, because like our grandkids and stuff looking back, they'll be like, how did you let this happen?
They'll be laughing at us.
How is this a thing?
I used to hear they thought the earth was flat and the whole class was laughing. We are going to be the laughing stocks of the last 500 years.
No,
you know?
no, I properly agree.
Yeah.
So what would you say are some of the things that you do to make sure that you're not really encouraging fast fashion and you're like making kind of sustainable behaviours? Is there anything that you can
I think fashion's lost a lot of its true essence over the years. I feel like there's a grey area in between trend and self-expression. And I feel like fashion is that grey area, you know? It's like, how do you express yourself using a trend, but expressing yourself, you know? And I feel like if you made your own t-shirt, how much is that? The true essence of fashion was to express what's inside and show that outwardly. And I think making your own is probably the most genuine, truest way of doing that.
Yeah.
And so probably sustainable fashion is the most fashionable fashion.
100%. And like you said, fast fashion is mainly based on trends.
Yeah.
So that's what people are buying into.
I don't really enter that grey area of self-expression and trend. I don't see it. No, not really. If we were all dressed the same way, how could any of us be expressing ourselves?
Thank you so much, BERWYN.
Thank you for having me.
I want to recommend these 2 Apprentice Nation quick sets to check out. Careers that make a difference, green jobs, and climate anxiety. Here is my closing quote. There is no such thing as a way. When we throw anything away, it must go somewhere.